Raiding the Tomb of Thomas. Thomas, also called Didymus, which means twin in Greek, was one of the original 12 disciples chosen by Jesus. Thomas is best known as Doubting Thomas because he refused to believe that Jesus had risen from the dead. Unless I see in his hands the mark of the nails, and place my finger into the mark of the nails, and place my hand into his side, I will never believe. John 20:25. But this wasn't the first time that Thomas doubted. When Lazarus died, Thomas said, "Let us also go, that we may die with him." John 11:16. And when Jesus said he must go to prepare a place for them in heaven, Thomas said, "Lord, we don't know where you are going. How can we know the way?" John 14:5. After the resurrection, Jesus appeared to Thomas personally, saying, "Put your finger here and see my hands, and put out your hand and place it in my side. Do not disbelieve, but believe." Thomas answered him, "My Lord and my God." John 20:28 and 29. From that day on, Thomas was a doubter no more. According to the St. Thomas Christians of India, Thomas landed in Muziris in AD 52. At that time, Muziris was a major port of Roman trade. He established 7 churches in Kerala. This is supported by Eusebius, who records that Thomas and Bartholomew were assigned to Parthia and northwest India. The Didascalia, written in the early 3rd century, also indicates that Thomas preached the gospel in India and neighboring countries. According to Syrian Christian tradition, Thomas was killed with a spear at St. Thomas Mount in Chennai, India in AD 72. In the apocryphal Acts of Thomas, this was after he converted members of Indian royalty, including the Queen and Prince. Today, his tomb is still in Mylapore, India, in the Santom Church, officially known as St. Thomas Cathedral Basilica and National Shrine of St. Thomas. Writing in the 4th century, Ephraim the Syrian confirms that Thomas was put to death in India, but that his remains were brought to Edessa by a merchant, or perhaps an Indian king named Mazdai. There are many references to the relics of Thomas in Edessa throughout history, until they were finally moved to Chios Island in 1258 due to Muslim and Mongol invasions. Some relics were later transported to Cathedral of St. Thomas the Apostle in Ortona, Italy. The skull of Thomas is in the monastery of St. John the Theologian on the Greek island of Patmos. Finger bones of St. Thomas were discovered at the Church of St. Thomas in Mosul, Iraq, in 1964. After the fall of Mosul, they were transferred to the monastery of St. Matthew, 20 kilometers outside of Mosul. There are Thomas traditions in churches as far away as Malabar, Arabia, Paraguay, Indonesia, Mylapore, and even China, all ports along the ancient seagoing Silk routes. You may wonder why an apostle known for doubting would be so famous around the world. But it wasn't his doubting that made him special. It was how boldly he gave his life to share God's love to a needy world. So what could you do with your life? Hi, I'm David. If you like this video, help me get the message out. Share it with somebody. And watch the next one.